Greetings, dudes and dudettes. Welcome back to the third installment of what I'm now calling the video blogs because I hate the word. I'm not even gonna say it. It starts with a V, ends with an S. Hate it. Can't stand it. Not using it anymore. These are now just video blogs. I like that much better. I don't care if the other way is shorter to say. It makes me sound like a douchebag. I don't want to say it anymore. This is going to be our video interview that I've been talking about a lot, and over the couple weeks now I've been asking for questions, and I had enough come in now that I felt it was okay to finally do the video. Wearing another Fright Rag shirt as usual. This is Popcorn. Love that movie. First question comes from Anonymous through email. Your videos only ever show you from waist up. Are you naked below the waist? I'm not answering that question. Question number 2. From Red Tash. How long have you been writing? And what's the most embarrassing story you've ever written? Alright, so we'll start with the first question. How long have I been writing? I've been writing since 2002. Is that right? Yeah, 2002 I've been writing since. So about 10 years, a decade of writing. The most embarrassing story that I've written, in the sense that I wouldn't want anyone to read it now. And those were actually two stories that were published early on, probably the first year I started writing. One was called The Cabin, and the other one was called Blue World or something like that. And they were just generally awful. I wasn't very good at writing, and my grammar was horrible. I actually didn't get better with grammar until I went back to school to major in English. So yeah, they were published because I wasn't paid for them, and the person who was doing the publishing kind of had just this general website where it seemed like they just pretty much published anything, which is why my stories were put up. And over the years, those were still available online, and over the years I really got kind of embarrassed about it, and eventually asked them to take the stories down because I didn't want to be associated with them. Next question comes from Todd, and I'm not going to say your last name because I'll probably pronounce it wrong. What is your most irrational fear? And this was actually also sort of asked by Loretta Miller, who asked, what scares you, and does it influence what I write? I would have to say the fear that comes to mind most often when people ask me what I'm afraid of is I'm very seriously afraid of the middle of the ocean at night. If someone like brought me out on a boat and tossed me into the ocean and left, and it was nighttime, I would probably freak out. Well, I mean, I guess most people would freak out, right? But even if the boat stayed and I was just in the ocean at night, it would freak me out, something awful. First of all, I'm not a very good swimmer, so there's that. And I think it goes back to the notion of the fear of the unknown, because you're in the water and it's nighttime, and it's just this black mat all around you, and you know there's stuff down there. There's all kinds of sea life and things that you can't see, and your feet are under there too, and you're kicking around. Something's gonna come and get you. I don't know, but it scares the crap out of me. I wouldn't want to be in the ocean at night because there's all kinds of stuff down there. You start nipping at your toes. Does that influence my writing? Probably not. I've never written a story that took place in the ocean, although I guess that notion of like fear of the unknown kind of comes into a lot of the writing. Alright, next question comes from Mila Fowler. How do you know when you've reached the end of a story? That's kind of a good question. I don't know that I really ever know. I don't plot my stories. I actually have a guest post coming up in the next couple of weeks that will talk about plotting and how I write a story and things like that. But I don't plot in general, and I don't think about the end of the story really until I get there. Um, and sometimes I change the ending. Sometimes I go back and cut things out of the end. So I don't. That's a really hard question. Uh, you just kind of feel it, I guess. Everything kind of wraps up, and I don't know. It's a feeling, I guess, is the best way I can explain it. I kind of just know that everything's been wrapped up, and there's nothing else that's gonna happen. Katie Taylor asks, what music did you find inspirational while penning and editing soundtrack to The End of the World? Some of those songs, so to get to the actual answer to the question, Tool was a huge influence. Anima, the song Anima, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. It's a really weird spelling, and I've never really looked into the actual pronunciation of those words. But that was a huge influence. If you listen to the song, it has a lot to do with like the end of the world, and some of the larger themes that come along in my novel are also present in a lot of Tool's music, and especially that one song, which is why I wanted to use it. And in fact, sort of like how Stephen King has, sometimes he has quotes to songs at the very beginning of novels, I would have loved to do that with Anima, but I, like I said, couldn't really pay for any of that. So, Tool, Rage Against the Machine, some of Rage's songs. I was going to use Bullet in the Head as one of the songs in the story itself. Dr. Steele, some of his music, a lot of loud, angry music in general went into my mind while I listened to a lot of that stuff. I actually would purposely put on certain songs during certain scenes to try to get me in that mindset and write almost like in a cinematic way, because I wanted it to actually be sort of like a soundtrack to the story. Loretta Miller asks, since you have accomplished both, would you rather write a novel or a collection of short stories? I think it's easier for me to write short stories. I'm more practiced at that. I've been doing that of the 10 years that I've been writing. I've done that for the majority of those 10 years. Novels were always hard for me to write because I'm a procrastinator, and it's hard for me to like sit down and do something every day. I don't have a very good schedule for my writing. Some people have like a really cool set schedule that every day they write, from 5 to 7 or whatever. I've never been able to do that as much as I've tried. So that's especially hard with a novel where you have to kind of keep all the characters in mind and keep the plot in mind and really keep some sort of continuity of thought. And I oftentimes, this happened with soundtrack, and this is happening now with my new novel that I'm writing, which is untitled at the moment but takes place in Moon Hill. I tend to write like half of the novel, and then something comes up that takes my attention away. Most often it's work, grading essays and writing lesson plans, teaching. It kind of eats up a lot of time, and I'm not able to do both. I'm a lazy person, and I don't do more than one thing well at the same time. So a lot of times, when I'm writing a novel, I stop writing it, and that happened with soundtrack. I stopped writing it, and like a year later went back to it, and I had to reread everything that I had written previously and kind of start fresh. What do I prefer to write? Probably short stories, because I could get them done quicker, and they're in my mind fresh and easy, and then I get it done. Although I do enjoy writing novels too. It's just a harder process for me. If I wasn't doing anything, if I was independently wealthy and had my own, villa, I think I could probably write novels much easier, because I could sort of do it in on my own time. Your hair is really long. This is also from Loretta Miller. Your hair is really long. Did you grow it yourself? No, I did not. Zombie apocalypse. Fight or flight? Fight. I would definitely fight. I don't know by flight if you mean suicide. That's the only way you can really escape, right? During a zombie apocalypse. Or if you just mean, you know, that you don't stand your ground and shoot them in the head and kind of run and try to escape the horde. In which case, probably both. I mean, there are times in zombie apocalypse movies and literature, and imagine if it ever really happened, that there's a point where you just can't fight them off. There's too many of them. You don't have enough bullets. You don't have enough room, space to fight. Whatever the case, you have to run to survive. So I would definitely both, I guess, in that case. Fight when you can and run when you can't. And also from Matt Marsha, what pointers, tricks of the trade when writer's block hits? Oh, so what do I do for writer's block, I guess, is the question. I don't really get writer's block, I don't think. I go through portions of time where I am not writing for a long period. Like I haven't written any fiction in a couple of months now. And that is not because of writer's block, but because of work and everything. So I'm not really sure. I just try to write. I write through it, I guess. If I have writer's block, if I don't know what I want to write about, I just kind of start writing anyway and keep writing until something happens. And let's check. Yeah, I just write, and then when the story starts, when the actual story starts, I may delete the first 2 or 3 pages where I started, because it was just kind of like lead-in. It was something that helped me to get writing, but I'm okay with that. And I'll just delete the first few pages and let the story start wherever it actually starts. So yeah, I don't think I really get writer's block. I just write, even if it's crap, even if I delete the entire thing. If I'm in the mood to write, I write. But like I said, I don't really write on a schedule. I don't keep a schedule with writing. So maybe if I did that, I would have writer's block. If every day I was writing, that might cause me to freeze up or something. But as far as the way I do write, no, I don't really succumb to that, I guess, which is a good thing, I suppose. All right, those are all the questions that I had. But I'm trying to make them more interesting, and I don't think I did that in this one, so I'm sorry. Do better next time, I swear. Oh, I'm scaring the crap out of Jerry. Alright, so thank you for tuning in. This was the interview, and I'll try to keep them shorter next time I do a video. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time.